And we're on. Hey up. How are we doing, Jamie?
Very good. Very good. We've just talking about, that's definitely a podcast for talking about drugs in weightlifting, not in CrossFit. That's a different conversation.
Yeah, whole nother conversation.
Totally is.
Yeah, we're on about the Bulgarian method and lifting multiple times a day, weren't we? And how we'd probably have no knees left or hips left or anything left.
Yeah.
Elbows of dust.
Definitely. Yeah, I think, getting out of bed would be quite difficult. It kind of spawned off of the conversation at the minute because the JST Athlete plan is on the kind of taper week or like getting ready for peak week and talking about how fatigue can like really mask people's ability to produce some serious numbers. And I think that's like talking about the class plan. That's where a lot of people come back off of a holiday and then they're worried about their fitness. And I think like engine capacity does drop pretty quickly. Like you'll lose 10% of your gas tank very quick, but that top end strength tends to stay. A kind of another conversation we were having about Ben, who's barely training and selling the Rad Dream, is still front squatting some serious numbers because he's just got that residual strength that he's able to maintain with the minimal effective dose. And I think from a regular member point of view, I think that's what we really try to push home, is that we're not trying to do everything and anything and everything. It's more like, what can you get done that's not going to affect your life outside of CrossFit? Because we've all been in that position where we can barely walk the next day and like try and take your kid to the park, but your hands are so torn and so sore you can't hang off the monkey bars. You're like, well, actually, what quality of life if this person's doing 3 to 4 sessions a week in a regular gym? Different conversation if you're a competitive CrossFitter. Don't get me wrong. Like, you need to be in bed for the other 20 hours a day, and then you need to spend those 4 hours a day in the gym, and then you just go back to bed. But each to their own.
I remember the whole literally driving to work was so painful, just sitting with your knee at the same angle and it just being so sore, and you're just like, why am I doing this? What am I doing to my body? But also on that note, actually, so me and Steve had the 1 rep max bench off JST Athlete to do yesterday. And Steve felt really good last week when he was benching, but it was obviously like, I'm going to leave it till next week. And it felt for him and for myself better last week than it actually did this week. So it was interesting to actually see or just be aware of, are you someone that is better after a taper week, or are you someone that actually you're better after a couple of weeks of training under your belt and going straight into it? So that was quite interesting. And we were just saying that, everyone's different.
Question to ask you
but it's good.
On that is, do you think it's physiological or do you think it's psychological? I know there's less, probably if you're rolling into training week, sometimes there's less expectation on it because you've got a bit of fatigue in your system. I know Steve and yourself, like all good with lots and lots of tension and a bit of fatigue in the body. Whereas some people, I know when I used to train Pat, who was more of a masters athlete and a bit more methodical, we'd kind of plan a little bit longer out. If he knew like a few weeks in advance where he was trying to build to, he would just base his like momentum around that, and it increased other things throughout his training lifestyle and work. And then all of a sudden, like when he come in, he would look completely different as a person. Like you could tell his psyche was very different. He's a very relaxed person, but he'd be a bit more pent up. But question to you, like, do you feel it was psychological? Like, do you think, the expectation was there? You had such a good week in the taper week where it's like, I'm going to bang it. And then it just didn't happen.
I felt for me, and I think for Steve, you could just see that the bar, it just wasn't moving as quick as what it was the week before at the same weights. And I think we're people that like a bit of tension, that feeling of having a bit of tension in your muscles, and your muscles just feeling that little bit tighter so you can use a little bit more of a stretch reflex. Or I think because we were both ready. We were both like ready for it, both up for it. But I think especially for people who are competing or coming after a deload week, sometimes feeling not as good as when they were going into it. It's again just good to be aware of that fact.
Yeah.
But even if you feel not as great coming out of a deload or a taper week, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't not have had that taper week as well at the same time, because your body does need that extra time out the gym to actually, recover from what we do.
Definitely. Those little adjustments are what shape you as an athlete going forward. It's like, okay, I'll just tweak this, maybe one less day of being easy training, or I need to have like a slightly harder session going into something. And that's again, very individualized. And I think in time, it's the athlete's responsibility to like make notes on that. And like, you guys are going to be great on that. And when you're having those conversations with the members, it's like, okay, I've seen Joe come in and they've been in a lot, but you're just monitoring their performance and their performance is increasing. And you're like, okay, well, that's okay. Let's leave them to it. But then you've got Mary, who's coming in the same volume of time, but they're complaining about their performance, because their performance is deteriorating. It's like, okay, well, you're doing the same volume of training, but you're just not responding to it in the same way. That's why we don't all that's why we're not all Matt Fraser, or we don't all get the same score on a workout, because we all do respond differently to training. But yeah, that's definitely something to highlight from try and bring it back to the class aspect of it. It's treating each member as an individual, and it's like, okay, what other stresses do they have in their life? They're, oh, fucking hell, like this is going on in life, and you're like, that's what it is. Like, let's fix those things.
Yeah. And so the other interesting conversation that we could just go into is also, so when, especially for a member, when the iron is hot, and say for example, this session on a Monday, it says build to a heavy complex, but not a max.
Yeah.
But for a member that maybe is either limited on the amount of sessions that they can come in on, or just with the stress at work and outside factors varying so much, should you sometimes strike while the iron is hot, and then just accept after that, like, I might not feel great for the next couple of days because I've just absolutely filled my boots and my CNS is now on its backside, and it just it is what it is. So that's...
I totally agree. I think
else
it leads us nicely into Monday's session in terms of, you need to, as a coach, be open to lots of different scenarios. So then you're not pigeonholing yourself into, right, we are only doing this. And I've definitely been one of those coaches before where it says like the loading's capped at 85% today. And then you'd have like a hissy fit with your member who's like doing 86%. You're like, what are you doing? You're like, actually, go for it. You feel good?
Yeah.
You feel good? Like, okay, well, I know we're going to, I think we might be squatting tomorrow or the next day. It's like, we're not going below parallel. Do you feel like this is going to make an effect? I know you said you wanted to get your squat up. Nah, I feel all right. I was like, well, go for it then. And I think that's where trying to put the conversation and the emphasis on the member to make good decisions and learn from their bad mistakes is hugely important, because we all, as a group of coaches, would rather the member go, I'm going to try this, versus coming up to you in the 10-second countdown going, coach, what shall I do? Like, if you have one of those people, they're indecisive, they're not going to... The CrossFit gym can be a dangerous place if you're not willing and capable of actually managing yourself and your surroundings. So, yeah, having someone who's going to take it upon themselves and give it a crack. And, yeah, you do get that odd person that's probably always trying to strike. And it's like, do you understand the consequences of always trying to strike, going too heavy, getting time capped in workouts? And sometimes it's just awareness. You take for granted, we've been doing this a long time, and a lot of coaches will be fairly experienced in, they already know the decision, they don't have to think about it. Whereas a new member just might be excited and not realise what's actually going on.
Yeah, it's true. And then as well, though, for that new member, they've at some point got to experience doing the wrong thing as well to then know for next time. And then it's kind of your job as a coach to make them aware of that fact. Or remember when you did that really heavy back squat that time, and then for the next couple of days after, you didn't feel as good. Yeah. It's just aware that personal responsibility of the member, but also you guide them as the coach as well. So
definitely,
yeah, So yeah, we kicked the week off with a heavy complex. If we go just a little bit further back, obviously we started off with some higher rep complexes, and you can see that through the weeks they've been getting less and less reps in the complex, which has naturally meant that we can go that little bit heavier, and we'll continue to do that for the next couple of weeks. Or is it week? Yeah, I'm kind of lost. This year's gone so fast already.
That's very true. Yeah, I think we like Jack said there, like you said, we're bringing the numbers down. We're getting closer and closer to the classic lift. We've kind of capped two things here. We've obviously stopped people going below parallel for a couple of specific reasons. In theory, it should reduce the overall loading. And then secondly, the other cap would be for the majority of people trying to stop themselves at roughly 85% of their 1 rep max. This will maintain great quality. 12 minutes isn't a huge amount of time, with the priority being a bit more based onto the workout and the squats that are coming up. Because again, we're kind of right in the middle of our squat series where we finished our 5s. We're now this will be into our second week of our 3s, where we're trying to get ourselves in line with the hole for a 3RM the following week. Bit of a golf analogy there. I've played golf 3 times, but I just thought that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of the scenario for the first half of the week, is kind of just getting ourselves ready for a big squat. And I know seeing Rich and the guys at RS3, I know they're really enjoying the squatting, and they're seeing like huge benefits from those guys. So it's just a matter of kind of lining that up.
Yeah, awesome. Let's get stuck into the workout for this day as well. We've got an unusual bit of equipment that all gyms may not have. We've thrown a sandbag in there, but also if you are a gym that does have sandbags, like a great opportunity to use them, especially after seeing them at the games. When we did the competition, Steve, myself and Sean at Trinity Warfare the other weekend, they made an appearance there. So they do seem to be, coming out in competitions a little bit more, and again, just a good functional bit of equipment to be using and know how to use as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot more gyms are using the sandbag. I think from a versatility point of view, I like the sandbag. It creates what I call like real strength. Like there's like with barbell, you can be super efficient, and this workout can be done with a barbell. We've obviously given an alternative to use the dumbbell, just from the ease of kind of going into the coaching if you're not able to have the sandbags available, or if we've got someone with an injury and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the sandbag kind of creates this core strength because the loading is much, much further out in front of you than a barbell would. So the ability to brace is a little bit more challenging because the forward force is a little bit harder, and they're just a bit more awkward. I think some people have a love-hate relationship. I know when you use sandbags regularly, they're actually quite enjoyable and you get what I call the knack of it. When you haven't done it for a while, like, I don't know if you've been there, but in the warm-up, if I'm warming up for this workout, that sandbag to shoulder and the squats will feel horrific. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this today. And then 3, 2, 1, go, the gun goes, and the adrenaline just means that the sandbags move. Those and dumbbells. Barbell's a bit different. I think barbell moves the same regardless of in workout or warming up. But certainly dumbbells and certainly sandbags your members are looking at you like, I need to go lighter. And you're like, nah, you'll be all right when the workout starts. And then when the workout starts, they're like, yeah, you were right.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be a very punchy workout, that, because like you say, if you move well with a sandbag, you're going to feel much better than the person next to you who isn't quite as efficient, and especially going into that bike to finish. It's going to really make people stand out who can move it better. Cool. Let's get stuck into Tuesday. This is probably one of our final time and attention sessions for Toes the Bar now.
Yep, it is our final one.
Awesome. It's been a good while. We've done this Toes the Bar for two phases now, pretty much. So I would be quite excited, actually, to see the progress that people have made, because the amount of tension that people are getting with the grip and with the core work that they've been doing should make those, smaller and moderate sets feel easier, but also the bigger sets. So everything should feel a lot easier, because the max really time that most people are going to be on a bar in a class is 45 seconds maybe. So that 45 seconds should hopefully feel much easier.
Yeah, I think it's also good practice. I like the toaster bar as our variation because it allows the members to get good exposure to being on the pull-up bar. I think that if we think of things on the pull-up bar, toaster bar, chin over the bar, pull-up, chest to bar, muscle up, we're probably looking at the one that is most accessible to the member. Because if we can't get our toes to touch, we're still looking at a half toaster bar or a knee raise. We're still hitting the similar kind of mechanics. Whereas with the pull-ups, our variations would kind of go chest to bar, chin over the bar, and then what have we got next? We've got a banded pull-up, which is not carrying the same horizontal forces. Then we look to coming off the ground onto ring rows, and all of a sudden we've got something completely different. So yeah, toaster bar is definitely something good that can make a bit of a difference in there.
Awesome. Looking forward to testing that and putting that in workouts in the next phase. Yeah. For the workout after, I think you snuck in some single unders in there.
Yeah, definitely. And do you recognise the workout to some extent from a camp we run recently?
Yeah, I do very much recognise this one. I do.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this format is very deceiving.
Oh, yeah. Way more so I'll tell you the origin story of this workout was a heart hypertrophy session that was in JST Athlete a little while ago, and it was 20 seconds, and I want to say it was row, burpees to a touch, some ski erg, some toaster bar, some handstand push-ups, and then a rest. And you did two whole rounds of it, then you rested a little bit longer, and then you did 3 sets of it, 4 sets of it. And I was looking at it, I was like, right, going to be able to hit a pretty good paces on the machines, going to be fine on the one thing that I could do was the handstand push-ups, because it took me such a long time to kick up and then hang on. Whereas everything else, I was having to break way within that 20 seconds. So when members look at it, they're going to be like, right, that's not enough time to get themselves going. Well, actually, here's a good conversation. It's like, how quickly can you get to your next exercise and just get started? And I'd much rather you start sooner and not be able to finish the 20 seconds if that was like our fail for the day, than wait because you're worried about not finishing the time. Ideal world,
agreed,
we get there as quick as we can, and we've scaled appropriately to be able to just go through every movement non-stop. But again, that's not always the case. I've thrown one exercise in there, the sit-up, which can be your like maintainer. Yeah, you're like your recovery one, where it's like I can do sit-ups and just like keep going, and I put them around where the swings are going to kind of get the heart rate up. You've still got a bit of flexion, and then it's like, okay, I want to see 20 seconds of wall balls, because like dropping it and then waiting it's just too long on the wall ball. But yeah, very deceptive workout. It'd be interesting to see people's feedback on this. It's the single unders in there, and I think it comes after a rest, so I think it's just a nice introduction to, here you go, I think the single under will be in the Open next year. That and the shuttle run.
Yeah,
that and the shuttle run.
Good shout. You called shuttle run earlier in the year as well. So I think quarterfinals this year. Yeah. Open next year.
Definitely. Totally agree. I think good news is, guys, we'll put some more shuttle runs in coming up very soon.
You're welcome. Cool. We've got a big back squat session on Wednesday. And like you said, the week after this one will be the three rep max.
Yep.
So for this session, what are you looking for members to get out of it?
We're just setting ourselves up, like I said at the weekly overview, setting ourselves up so we've got a good idea on what we're trying to get for the following week for a 3 rep max.
Yeah.
Now, if we flash back to our original conversation about striking while the iron's hot, if someone's pushing the load in and they feel good, make that last set really hard. if they're like, right, next week I'm not sure if I can get in, or if like work life happens. Like, these are all situations that are not for the linear progression athlete whose priority, or they work in a gym, they're on their certain membership. It's like, okay, I've moved the day over, the squats will be on a different day next week, I can't make it then. These are the kind of conversations like, right, well, you've still got time, you've got 12 minutes here, like, get your 3 sets in, make sure that last set's super heavy, and it might be the weight that you get the following week, or if you get an opportunity to do it. But for the majority, the goal is to just like set the tone, get close to something. It's the set before the 3 rep max, where you hit it in pretty heavy, and then it's go time.
Yeah, awesome. That should be some good practice as well, if anything, for your setup for next week when doing the 3 rep max. So make sure every set you rack it exactly the same, you step out exactly the same, so that again when you come to do it next week, it just feels second nature.
Definitely. I think stepping back, that's one thing that I've noticed with lots of people. The difference between when they're doing a sub-maximal set and a maximal set is the amount of steps back they take. Okay, if you're thinking, right, when I fail, I'm going to need that extra step back, we'll take the extra step back in your practice sets, because it's more time under tension. It's like, okay, one thing I've learned when I'm squatting, it's like I brace when I pick it up. I keep braced. I take my steps back, and then I have a small like exhale of breath to then take a slightly bigger inhale of breath. And those are the kind of routine things that help me. And because I train outdoors, I've had to change my squat viewing, because when majority of us, we're in a gym. So the wall is probably within 24 foot, 25 foot of you. It was very peculiar when I started squatting at TO. You face out onto the field. It's just,
where do you look?
Where do you look? How far do you look? It's quite just like the wind's blowing and all those kind of things. And I've kind of had a look I looked down a little bit more. And I made a decision. I filmed myself squat and I looked down and I was like, well, I'm quite an upright squatter. So it doesn't tilt my body forward anymore. So it's a matter of, all right, I can stay upright even though I'm looking down ever so slightly. And then because I'm staring just in front of the racking, it's always going to be there. These are things that, like, as a coach, they're the little tidbits that if you see a member leaning forward and their head's down, get them to pull their head up and then fix the spot in front of them. If you've got someone nice and upright and they're feeling pretty good, just keep encouraging them to do what they're doing.
Awesome. Right. The workout looks pretty good little triplet, to be honest.
Yeah.
Upper body, lower body hinging, a bit of a variation of like a Diane sort of, with some double unders thrown in there as well. Excuse me. Obviously, wall walks came up in the open again this year. So stapling the class program these days, I know people still hate them.
Yeah. Definitely. I think this year's open workout was a lot more user-friendly, with it always only being 3. I think it was definitely something that was like quite nice. Just literally off the top of my head here, thinking about it, I'm like, I bet the open workout this year, it will be the wall walk, then the box jump. They had box jump, and then it might be shuttle run. I know they were looking at like it would be dumbbell snatch and then shuttle run. Because I know they changed that shuttle run at the last minute, I'm pretty sure, to the box jump step down. But yeah, there might be something coming there. This is a good workout, like very shouldery. And then the burpee deadlift is very taxing on the midline, more so than what people think. So then again, trying to maintain good posture when you're doing double unders is it's going to be key, because if you're all soggy on that, it means your wall walk's going to not be as good, and then it's an absolute shit show towards the end.
I was about to say. Love that. Right, on to Thursday.
Yep.
We kick things off with a little bit of skill work.
Yep.
We've got some rope climbs in there. Got some handstand walks and some dragon flag lowers, maybe a new movement to some coaches that are not too familiar with the gymnastic accessory work. To start off with, if gyms don't have a rope, what would you suggest as an alternative for those gyms potentially?
So a couple of different variations. I would say because of in the workout later on, we've got a strict pull up in the workout. We're going to look at maybe a strict knees to elbows, where we're just trying to curl ourselves in, get a bit of a lean back and understand that like close-in shape at the hips. Because what a lot of people don't understand or realize that when climbing a rope, if you can try and get your feet as close to your hands before you make that wrap, it's going to make a huge difference to your ability to ascend up the rope. A lot of people will assume that it's a very arm-based movement, but it's actually quite a midline-y based movement and predominantly midline based on the rope climbs. So just trying to encourage people to do that. And this is a good bit of play, like this gymnastics EMOM. I think I've coached a similar variation that we've put in before. And depending on the group will depend on like whether it is a 15-minute EMOM. You might have a group where you spend a lot more time on the coaching element and they've done quite a lot of work within the coaching element. So throwing in another 15 minutes is probably a bit overkill. Say someone's going to lose quality. Actually, this could be 9 minutes if you spend an extra 10 minutes on the rope climb and the handstand walk. So again, as a group of coaches, don't be afraid to tweak the programming for the group. If you've got, say, quite an advanced class, say you've got a group of people that are all like good level RX in open workouts and they're like, right, I can climb a rope, I can walk on my hands. Doesn't mean to say that you don't give them the quality. It just means you get into it and you test them under a bit more fatigue a bit earlier. And then you coach them in a different way. But if you have a group of beginners who are probably scared of climbing up the rope, they don't want to go upside down, and they're probably not strong enough to lower their legs under control. And if they did, it'd probably be far too taxing and dangerous for them. That's where you kind of start to play around with extra exercises in the warm-up, rope pulls, and just playing around with having some fun.
Wicked. Then into the workout, you could say it's a bit of an accessory piece for the skill work.
That's exactly what it is. Just get people moving, accumulate some volume. There's some plank holds in there which will be interesting for some people that are potentially not learning how to brace while breathing. A lot of people will kind of be like the whole holding on for dear life, and then it's like when they relax they lose all position. It's like, well, it's a core to extremity based program, a core strengthening program. Are we able to maintain the sufficient core strength to hold a good position while still breathing? That's a huge thing. And then it really varies depending on how intense you want it. The day before, you're not breathing, you're holding your breath on your back squats. Okay, when you're running on the Friday or something like that, you need to be able to breathe and relax completely. So
good. Right, let's get stuck into Friday then. This is a variation of a workout that's on JST Athlete. Correct. What have you changed from the JST Athlete version, if anything, to start off with?
So the main adjustment I've made is, rather than having a specific rest period after the work, you're going to then just partner up with a buddy and rest as long as it takes your buddy to roll through. I feel like it's a great workout. When I saw it, I was like, the time it takes the elite level CrossFitters that we potentially have on the plan to complete this was very similar to the rest periods that were provided. The rest periods are probably just a smidge shorter, but again, that all rings home to, well, let's make it a little bit longer rest so then we can maintain the quality. I also maintained the adjustments. So sometimes in a class, I'll keep it just one way through to make it really simple. But sometimes when you're in a pair, you can make it a bit more complex because you have a partner to then just qualify what you're doing is right. So you go through the workout as is, and then your partner does it, and then you complete it in the reverse order, then your partner does it in reverse order, and then you go back through it the correct way again.
Right, okay.
Again, if that as a coach, or if you look at your class and you're like, they're not going to get it, and sometimes you get that. Like sometimes I've definitely been in a situation where I've explained it, and then someone's asked probably what I would used to consider a stupid question, like, I can't believe you don't understand that, you're not listening. It's because I haven't explained it well enough. So I always put it back on myself. It's like, right, I need to explain it better. But sometimes you get to a point where you've explained it 5 times and you're like, it's not going in today. It's both of our faults. We're not getting it. It's like, okay, just go through it in the correct order, and we'll get some fitness.
I keep doing that.
Yeah. So all in all, most of it is, well, this workout is as is. We've got some extra toes to bar in there for the week. If you're thinking of accumulating volume, we had the time under tension on a Tuesday. We've also got some work here, but we also put in the notes that if people are struggling, the gymnastics will probably be the movements that we may want to reduce the volume on. So we don't have to necessarily reduce the volume on every single movement. Sometimes people go, okay, I'm going to bring it down to 6 toes to bar, 6 chest to bar, and they bring 6 of everything. Actually, no, you can hang on the 10 cows, you can do your 10 burpees and that kind of stuff, and then you just look at adjusting those other bits.
It's a good point. Well made that, because I think coaches can sometimes be stuck in you've got to reduce the whole workout. You've either got to do it. There's this scale, is this scale, or is this scale? Whereas sometimes just little tweaks to parts of the workout. To get the same stimulus.
I think that's why we don't program levels within the class programming.
Yeah.
I know we've had people ask us about
mentioned
it
that
before, and it's I'm a big believer of we'll write the workout for our best members, and then we'll look to modify it like correctly for every single person. And I feel like that's a better way of getting that conversation. It creates dialogue as well between you and the coach.
Yeah, it does.
Because as opposed to that member who looks at the programming in the week and they're like, right, I'm an intermediate athlete, or I'm like that middle person, I'm going to do that. Actually, if there wasn't that option, would they have gone for a harder option and got more results? So they're the kind of conversations that you want to be having with your members rather than them trying to self-select it on their own.
Definitely. Awesome. Right. Getting stuck into Saturday. A cluster, which is a nice change really from a normal weightlifting movement. And obviously we've been doing plenty of clean work, but at the same time, it's nice to test something a little different to what we've actually been, focusing on. On the cluster, what have you found from coaching it in the past is one of the key or a couple of the key things that you get across that's maybe different to potentially a normal clean or clean and jerk?
Front rack's probably the thing that gets me. I'm like, okay, I'm doing a clean. I'm probably focusing on my bar path, my positioning, making sure I'm extending in a straight line. That's all relevant information. But if I'm catching a clean on my fingertips, okay, that's fine. If I'm catching a cluster on my fingertips, I'm having to do some kind of funky stuff to adjust it up. So, I'm spending more time in my warm-ups with my wrist mobility, just trying to open up my lats. Hook grip elbow drives in the front rack, in the back rack, getting into the bottom of the squat, trying to maintain a hook grip. All of the real uncomfortable stuff that is just ripping you off early doors. And then when a bit of weight gets on and then you can actually get yourself into that position. We were talking about Ben's front rack mobility earlier. It's like, it's just got a full hand grip, which will allow your upper back to stay there rather than catching on your fingertips. That would be my go-to.
This is definitely the movement that catches everyone out that neglects doing the front rack opener work when you're doing the weekly weightlifting work. You're the people that neglect the front rack, doing the front rack stuff properly. It really catches them out here. I definitely remember all those people that were just more like keeping it in the fingertips, bringing their elbows up, it rolling into the fingertips. Then a cluster had come up and they just really struggle because they didn't do it properly. So expect some people to be caught out there, and to make that point to those people as well.
It's it.
And then that. Go on.
I was going to say it doubles up as a primer. So we're using it to get some load on the body, which is good for us. It's only a small period of time. Again, trying to go every 90 seconds to 2 minutes. It's good kind of Saturday exercise to do. Most people could probably get a PB with it because it's not a movement that we do that often. And we've built some good leg strength over the last 6-8 weeks. And we've also been push pressing quite regularly. So again, that overhead position will probably feel quite comfortable and strong as well. But ultimately it leads to a JST athlete workout, which is on that Saturday anyway, which the only modification is we've kept it equal work to rest. You guys have got lucky that it's not 60 seconds rest, it's 90 seconds. So you've got a chance to go against a friend.
Wow. Yeah. One that will really suck for sure. A great Saturday workout. Wicked. On to the final day of the week.
Yep.
Sunday. We've got our bodybuilding kind of session back. I know some gyms have liked this as a bit of a staple on a Sunday. And I think it's been a few weeks since we've actually made it more bodybuilding based. It's more bodybuilding based in the past couple of weeks, I'd say. Which you've even thrown some bicep curls in there for good measure. I love this.
But we kept it CrossFit, didn't we? We did 30, 20, 10 of it. So it's
true.
Like anything can be CrossFit if you try hard enough.
I want to see some full extension on them bicep curls at the bottom.
Yeah. Definitely getting no reps. You get like a strict bicep curl. Like imagine in the open, you had to put the back of your head and your shoulder blades and your bum on the wall. You had to do bicep curls. That would be, I think Greg Glassman would catch on fire in wherever he's living at the minute if someone was doing bicep curls in the open. I'm not a big advocate of doing them for speed, but we've got 60 reps worth of volume with an empty bar, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think a friend of mine, James Dollar, always talks about elbow health with bicep curls, and he always used to make it a joke like for elbow health. But he's got a real it's so true. Like if you spend a lot of time flexing, extending fast, or butterfly pull-ups, or kipping, or muscle-ups, or snatching, we do need to build quite a bit of muscle in and around the top end of the bicep. I think our forearms naturally are quite good because the volume of grip work, hanging on to stuff, dumbbells, kettlebells, that kind of stuff within our workouts. But actually, how strong are our biceps? There's a bit in there. We've got the shuttle runs in the workout as well. So with the down up at each end, which kind of reduces the overall intensity, because the turn-in and go-in would potentially increase the intensity on the joints, not necessarily the intensity on the workout. The to-in and throwing of going around.
Again, this was one of the workouts at Trinity Warfare was shuttle. Pretty much, it was just shuttle runs, but with a burpee at each end. Person one had to do, I think it was like 12 there and back, and then person 2, person 3, then it went down to 8 and then 4. And it was literally just throw yourself on the floor and bounce off the floor as much as possible. It was proper adult PE, I've got to say. Second movement you got there, double dumbbell ground to overhead.
Yep.
Actually, an awful movement.
Yeah,
they really do suck.
They are some of the lowest of the low exercises. You struggle to get into the bottom position. You catch the dumbbells on the body on the way up. If it drops out to the side, you don't get the purchase on it. Like that. So 2 22.5s for the guys and 2 15s for the girls feels like 80 kilos on the bar or 50 kilos on the bar. It feels as hard as that. It's not just a 45 kilo weight. It's much, much harder.
Yeah, agreed. So I think making sure you run through both the snatch and the clean and jerk variation, probably an essential, I'd say, for that one today.
Definitely.
It'll get spicy pretty quick, that one, I think. Within the first round, you'll be like, whole snap, I've got 4 more rounds in this one. So, I think
those the shuttle runs will end up being a bit of an active recovery from the absolutely getting battered by the dumbbells.
Agreed, because 30 seconds rest after them double dumbbell ground to overhead, it still won't be enough, I can tell you that right now.
A lot of people will still be holding on to the dumbbells, I reckon, on the floor. You know, when you're like on one knee, you're holding on to the dumbbells. We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. We do have. Cool. That wraps the week up. This is the last intense. Well, we'll probably just blend it into this next phase potentially. Will that week after be an easier week or just pretty similar? I feel like we had an easier week the other week, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was like a week or two ago.
We had what some gyms class as the non-deload week, where what we end up doing within the class programming is we'll take out the structures. So that's our way of like deloading, is we'll take out the structures so that it's even more varied than what we already provide. And it allows, and then it's more of a conversational piece with your gym goers. Again, because everyone's situation is different. So people have been away, people are trying to peak for something, people are trying to do it. So it is a matter of just trying to identify to your members, what buckets are you in? We wrote some stuff on Circle about have you competed, when to take an easier week, when not to. Like at the start of this, we were talking about the fatigue aspect of it. They're all good conversations to have, and just educating your members on when to back off the pace and when to strike.
That's good point well made. Dodging. It's just switching lanes a little bit as well. This weekend, first regional event of the second season.
Yep, we're ready.
We're ready. How's your recruitment drive been?
It's been okay. It's London's London, isn't it? Everyone's away. Everyone's coming back though, I think, for this weekend. I think we're just over 20 that I know of, like, so far in WIT. But again, you know what we're like. We're cool down in London, so we don't book in until like the night before.
We're cool down.
So everyone's probably thinking, right, I'm going to go, but I haven't booked in, which is always tends to be the case.
Always the way. Of course.
But yeah, exciting. Looking forward to get everyone together. We're at WIT, so nice central location. So we're looking forward to having a laugh. Good
stuff. It should be, I think head-to-head wise, participation wise, it'll be pretty close between you guys and us guys, because I know our highest attendance, or one of our highest attendance, was at Train, and yours was at WIT last time. So yeah. Clash of the Titans, clash of first and second from last season.
Very true. I think the Welsh are coming back this year with a bit of a bang, possibly. I see Adam's been flogging it out there, so hopefully
I know
should be there. Who else have we got?
They might be getting the wooden spoon again.
Ooh, that is very true. Not that we're promoting that kind of stuff, but yeah, definitely. I'll present
it. With pleasure as well, I can imagine.
100%.
Cool. Let's wrap it up there, and we'll go into more detail next week of what the plan is for the next phase as well. But yeah, cool, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Worries. Thanks, Jack. See you later, guys.
We'll catch you soon.